So when we after I get through, we want to anybody has any questions, we want you to ask them, and I'd like for you to use a mic though, so we can because we're recording this, and I want anything anybody asks to be heard. So and so we've got another mic back there. But when we get there, we'll hand that mic out somewhere here where you can pass it around. Okay, so a scripture I would just wanted to share to open. It's always good to do things theocratically. So a good scripture is this one in 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 17. And it says this. It says, honor men of all sorts, have love for the whole association of brothers. And, you know, one of the things that going to an event like this in another country helps you to appreciate is the brotherhood that we have. Those people there were so accommodating. I mean, and they have nothing, and yet they're willing to give everything. So it was amazing how they were always wanting to give us gifts. You know, we have plenty of assets compared to them, and these people have very little. So it really impacted me, to tell you the truth. I mean, it really helped me to see things in a different light. It helped me to have more appreciation. So, you know, going to on this trip, it really was the adventure of a lifetime. And we chose Papua New Guinea purposely because I wanted to go somewhere that was a place like I'd never been before. You know, because I've been to places in like European places and things like that. The more and when you go there, a lot of times like their living conditions and so forth are not very much different than ours. So I wanted to see something I'd never seen before, and we did. We really did. We had a great time. The only bad thing was the flight, the long flight from we went from Charlotte to Houston, and then from Houston to Australia, and then we spent a few days, 6 days in Australia, and then we went to Papua New Guinea. But that flight from Houston to Australia, you're going all the way across the Pacific Ocean, and you're also going from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere. It was 14, 15 hours, and, you know, you're flying, and, you know, 6 or 7 hours has gone by. I've never flown that long even before. And you look, and you're still not halfway there. And I mean, it makes me appreciate how big this planet is. And, you know, we were over just about the entire time now. We're over the Pacific Ocean, flying 700 miles an hour, hour after hour after hour. So it really was something. But like I say, that was the only bad thing. It wasn't very comfortable at all. You're packed in there like sardines. Another thing that we experienced that was unique for me is where we were at, the time zone we were in, is 14 hours ahead of here. So you're going to a place that, you know, you're thinking it's going to be daytime when you get there, and it's night, or vice versa. So that was hard to adjust. And matter of fact, I did not adjust. It took me 2 weeks, but the whole time we were there before I adjusted. I had got almost used to it by the time 2 weeks was over, and then we had to come back. So you can see what that was like. And also, because that's in the southern hemisphere, we were there in July. That's the middle of their winter. It gets dark at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we... you know, it was just a lot different than being here where it's hot, and it wasn't cold there. The temperatures varied from about the mid 70s at night to the mid 80s in the daytime. Very temperate. It's right close to the equator, where Papua New Guinea that is. So we had a lot of fun. Of course, up front we did have apprehension. We didn't know what we would face, but, you know, we had no problems. Everything just worked out perfectly. Now, I just want to share this. This came from a 2011 yearbook about Papua New Guinea, and just a little excerpt. It says, today Papua New Guinea is still emerging into the modern world. Some of its citizens live in modern cities surrounded by high-tech conveniences, yet 4 out of 5 people live in small bush villages where life has changed little over hundreds of years, and ownership of pigs signifies wealth, bride price is common, spiritism is widespread, and clan loyalties are paramount. So you can see. Now we were in a city where we were staying and where the convention was. It was a big city. It still wasn't like being here though, by any stretch of the imagination. But where the motel we were at was actually nicer than the one we stayed in Australia. It was a very nice motel, so we had no issues as far as comfort or anything while we were at the motel. When you're out in the city or whatever, it's different though. We went to a mall while we were there, and when you go in, you go through metal detectors, they frisk you. I mean, because there's a lot of violence there. You know, the world has, you know, it's just not, you know, a lot of stealing and so forth, and so they were really on top of that, and I felt safe there. You know, once they were checking everybody, and if you had a pocketbook, they ran it through a scanner, and you know they scanned people, you know, and so you know they really were serious about their safety. So I felt good while we were there, and you know the local friends, we felt it a privilege to be there, but those friends there were moved by the fact that all of us had come from these more prosperous lands and came to they call it their little island in the sun. So they were they really were appreciative, and they expressed that a number of times, and they thanked us for coming over and over. And also they had done some extensive preparations for months in advance of that convention. They had an array of activities. We were busy from time we got up to the time we went to bed. The branch had given us a choice of activities, things we could choose, you know, and there was a number of things. I chose all of them. So we were busy, but I'm glad I did. You know, some of the things we experienced, we would have never had a chance to do again. So, you know, when I talk about this, show some of the videos, you're gonna enjoy them, but it's really not possible to really let you feel what we felt. You know, in order to do that, you got to go yourself. And maybe never again to Papua New Guinea, I don't know, but there'll be other places that open up, and you know, make a choice and go. You know, one of the main purposes that I wanted to do this was to encourage friends, if they have the circumstances, to try to make one of these special conventions or the international conventions. Of course, now that we're going to have internationals next year, is, you know, beyond the time that you can apply, but you know, there'll be more as long as this system lasts, and maybe even in the new system, we're going to have conventions like this perhaps. So give us an opportunity to get to know the friends around the world. Of course, to do that, you got to have a passport. I don't know if you've arranged for that. I know the blacks have applied for this year. If you haven't got one, it costs for an adult $145 to get your passport. It lasts 10 years. You can get them at Florence Post Office. Now, this presentation is going to include both photos and videos. And in the videos, most of these videos are demonstrations or how should I say, cultural dances that a particular congregation put on. And you'll see, it's amazing. They went to a lot of effort to put on these different things that they did for us. It was really, again, we enjoyed it thoroughly. And all of these, the ones I'm going to show I've got many more. And the ones that I am showing, the videos are cut down. I cut them down so that, you know, for the interest of time. But you'll get to see, you know, get the idea of what some of it was like. Now, we spent 6 days in Australia and then 8 in Papua New Guinea. Now, the days in Australia, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about that because that had nothing to do with our theocratic trip. You know, it was just something we did. We chose to do that because, you know, we wanted to see a little bit of Australia, and we enjoyed that. We saw a lot of things there. Now, one thing I will share from Australia, though, is we got to make a trip to their Bethel there in Sydney, Australia, and it was really, I have a couple pictures at the beginning of that, but other than that, there's nothing else about Australia here. That was actually the Bethel trip we made there turned out to be one of our highlights, too, because we got to meet a sister there. It was really amazing. I'll have a picture of her in just a minute. And so, again, afterwards, we'll be glad to answer any questions that we can. So let's go ahead and start with the first picture, Jimmy. So this is the desk at Bethel in Australia. And that sister on the far right, she was the one that manned the desk there. So we chatted with her quite a bit, and her husband. We talked to him as well. Okay, next picture. Now, this is the sister. Her name is Lena Davidson. She will be 90 years old next year. She still works at Bethel. Now, she was a sister. Her and her husband were two of the people that opened up the work in Papua New Guinea in like 1956 or 7, something like that, way back there. And she spent 50 years there in Papua New Guinea. But now, and she would still be there, except she has a condition in her lungs that prevents her from flying. So she works at Sydney, Australia. She still does translation for some of the Papua New Guinea languages. And she, like I say, she was She was a delight. Go ahead, Lane.
Invited us to come to her room for tea, and she served us tea and cookies, and we chatted about different theocratic things. But you'll notice that her door is open behind her there, and she said that when she first went there to serve at Bethel, she was one of the older ones, and there was mostly young people there, and she wanted to make sure she made friends quickly, so she left her door open to encourage people to come by and talk with her. And you can see even then she left her door open.
Yeah. So she was really a warm sister, and she's got a life story in the 2007 Watchtower, June 1st, 2007. Really, but she shared some things with us that's not in her life story. Like, for instance, she told us that whenever they were trying to open up the work in Papua New Guinea, that Brother Noor came to her husband. He was in Australia, and came to her husband and said, "Would you consider going to Papua New Guinea?" And he said yes. And he said, Brother Noor says, "You don't need to ask your wife." He said, "Oh no, she's ready to go too." So yeah, just some other things she shared that that was not in her life story that we enjoyed. And then later on, one of the activities that we had in the evening on Wednesday evening in Papua New Guinea, they put on this huge show. But one of the things they had was some videos of certain ones that were elderly that weren't there, and she was one of the ones on the video. And she told some of the very things she told me and Lane in her room. So it was just enjoyable to be there. Okay, go to the next one, please, Jimmy. That's just the outside of the Australian Bethel in Sydney. Next one. And that's Elaine doing a selfie. That's when we first arrived in Papua New Guinea. And so that was the first day. That was on Tuesday we got there, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday when we got there. So, and the assembly, of course, was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, go ahead, Jim. Now, this group of people, they were so interesting. They were there at the airport. This is right outside the airport, and they're welcoming us. They had a drum in the back, and they were playing the drum and everything. And they're dressed in their cultural dress. They had walked 10 days to get there, to welcome these delegates. And then, of course, they were there for the convention as well. And they said they did not speak English or the two languages that the assembly was translated into. They're from one of the tribes in the jungle somewhere. So just interesting bunch of people.
And tell them how they where they stay when they come to the conventions.
Oh yeah, I asked somebody, these folks like this, where do they stay? They're coming from way away, and they said, well, some of them do have family in the city there, and they stay with them. But the ones that don't, they allow them to stay on the grounds of the assembly hall. They have an open air assembly hall, and they allow them essentially to camp out there. Is what they were doing. So they were, again, delightful folks, and they just welcomed us. You'll see them again later on in a video that I have when we had that was on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, they had we'll get to that in just a minute, but they had a gathering where they had rented a huge auditorium for this gathering. They put on all kinds of things inside there. They had face painting and, some of the things like that. You'll see some of that in a few moments, but anyhow, let's go to the next one, Jim. That's on the bus going. No, that's when we went to the nature park. That was Wednesday morning, and I guess I took a selfie there. I don't know. Okay, next one, Jimmy. And now that's the bus. Are you in the right order? I guess that's one of the buses for the convention as well. Oh yeah, they use those to transport us to the nature park. That's right. You can see on the side of the. They had like 10 of these buses, and on the side you can see that special convention of Jehovah's Witnesses delegates, and so those were things were going all over. And as we'd go down the road, not witnesses, just the people in general were just hollering and waving at us. I mean, they were so excited to have us there. It was amazing. Next one. Now that's when we were going into the nature park, and these are all sisters that were welcoming us. And when we left the nature park, the same ones were crying when we were leaving. So. Next one, please. Now that's inside the nature park. Those were just some young sisters that Elaine or I took a picture of.
You could mention the billums right there.
Oh yeah, you can see the billums like on one sister's shoulder and then around the other one's neck. Those are the bags that all the witnesses, the men and the women, all the people not just witnesses. Everybody, that's really the thing everybody has. It's like their own personal pocketbook. When they go out in service, they use those in service with their magazines, literature, whatever in them. Okay, next one. That was a brother. That brother was from Michigan, I think, and he was there as a delegate. One of the things you'll notice around his neck, there's an orange, what do you call those things? Lanyard with his badge on it and everything. All the delegates had orange lanyards. They had there were different ones that were local brothers and sisters that were assisting. They had red lanyards. So you may notice that in some of the other pictures. But all the delegates had the orange lanyards. Okay, next, please. Now, you know what those are? Bats. Fruit bats. And they are huge. They're big as a buzzard. I mean, you can see these animals are huge. And they were just thousands of them there in that park, all up in the trees, hanging from the trees. Elaine?
Yeah, there was one sister that was terrified of them, and she kept walking with her stuff over her head. And I convinced her that they were not going to come down and get tangled up in your hair like they always show in the movies and stuff. I said they're harmless.
Yeah.
It took a while for her to take her bag off her head.
At one time, they had a display over in Columbia in the zoo of these fruit bats. I don't know if anybody's ever been there and saw them. And it's been years ago. I don't know if they still have it or not, but they did have those very bats because they're not local to this country. They're tropical animals. Okay, our next one, please. It's up sideways. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just a cute little fella playing his bongo drum, you know. That he was, of course, one of the local kids. Next. Now, this is an interesting thing right here. You're going to see more about him in just a minute. He came up and just started talking to me. So I talked, we chatted, and he's, of course, a local brother. And that thing that thing I'm holding it was back there on the table. I don't know if you saw it, but it's just a little bag that somebody made with, I think he said his sister made it. It's got chicken feathers or some kind of feathers on it. And we talked for a little while, and then I don't even know where it came from because I hadn't seen it, but he just kind of pulled it out. He says, "I'd like to give you this." I said, are you sure? He said, yeah. He said, I really want to. I said, oh, okay. So I said, I appreciate that. And, I didn't think about it till after we got back here, but it was probably illegal to bring that back to this country because that has, I think, chicken feathers on it. I hadn't even thought about that till Elaine and I were talking about it afterwards. I said, we probably could have gotten in trouble bringing that thing back. But it got back, so it's back there. But this brother, though, after we talked a little while longer, he told me he's a circuit overseer over there. And so, and what we're going to go to next, the next picture, is a picture of these next several pictures are pictures of congregations that he's served. And he sent those to me since we've been back, these pictures. So go to the next one, Jimmy. That was one congregation. Now, that's him in the red shirt there. Leaning over, and you can see their transportation on the river there, and they're in the jungle. I mean, all these congregations he is serving are in the jungle, and that's why it takes a young man like that to be able to hold up to that kind of activity. Go to our next one, Jimmy, and that's him too, right there in the front, going down the river. Next one, that's another congregation there, and that's him, of course, in the front there. Yeah, there are quite a few there, aren't they? Yeah. Okay, next one, Jimmy. And that's him. I like this one. He's barefooted. Yeah, in the buds. You probably wouldn't pay to have shoes in that kind of situation. That next one. And that's, just navigating the river there. Yeah. And let's go next one, Jim. And you can see the kind of surroundings, the jungle. Okay, and next one. There, that's just another typical one. All right. And I think that's maybe the last one there. And I suppose that's another congregation over there. So, these are just, it kind of gives us a flavor, like that thing I read about Papua New Guinea. That's his pioneer meeting that he sent me. You see all of them have their pioneer publications there. He sent me that one. That was the first one he sent me, actually. But, just like I read about Papua New Guinea, a lot of those areas are by our standards, are very backwards. But now there was one sister I talked to over there when I went out in field service. And she was telling, I can't remember. Yeah, I think she was trying to give me something or something. I said, no, I said, keep that for yourself. But she ended up telling me, she says, we have everything we need here. She said, we eat from the tree. She says, we have everything. We don't need anything else. So that's just kind of their attitude. Now, this is back in the nature park, because I took a detour to show you those pictures that the brother had sent me. Now, we're back in the nature park. I don't know the significance of that picture really, other than just to show you what it looked like. And go again, Jimmy, next one. There's one of the birds, I guess a macaw or something. I don't know why my pictures are sideways. A toucan or something. Yeah, Toucan Sam. Okay, next one. And just some pretty birds that we saw there. Yeah. Okay. And these are all birds, animals that are native over there. Okay, next one. Okay, let's go to the video then. Well, we may be out of the nature part now.
They did some of their dances for us at the nature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got. That's right. We've got some. That's right. I forgot this. Yeah, go ahead to the next one, yeah. things they told us about these things, and you're going to see a number more of these kinds of things. They are telling a story. All of them have, depending on the tribe they're from, they have some kind of story about. One of them they told us was a story about having a pig and growing it and then taking it to the show, and so just different things. And I have no idea what the significance of that one was, but there's significance to all of these things that they do. Okay, next one, please. This is in the afternoon. What you just saw, that was the middle of Wednesday, the first day we were there. All that, and there were a lot more. I mean, there's more. This is the evening where we're going into the auditorium that they've rented. That they put on a great floor show, and then and a lot of other things too. And Brother Jackson was here. This where we're going here. He sat right behind Elaine and I, right behind you. So Brother Jeffrey Jackson. Yeah, so we got to talk to him just a little bit. I didn't want to overdo it, of course, but But the reason I wanted him to stop here though is because as we're going in here, these are the same ones that were at the airport. So you'll get to see them kind of up close. Okay, go ahead, Jimmy. Next one, please.
Hi.
Austria. And he is a circuit overseer over there, permanent. I mean, he lives there, been there 5 years. So, and they were a delightful couple. They sat right in front of us. So we had a good chance to chat with them. He's the one that skip that one, Jimbo, or that was it. But he's the one that told me that over in, you maybe have heard in Papua New Guinea, there's over 800 languages. And it's a small place. It's probably not as much bigger in South Carolina. I don't know exactly, but it's not a great big country. But over 800 languages. And he said you will have a creek with one village on one side of the creek, and right across the creek another village. And he said they'll speak different languages. He said that's how diverse the languages are there. So you can see it is a real challenge to reach these people. Now, fortunately, a lot of them do speak. They have a couple of main languages there in the country, and a lot of them do have at least some knowledge of that language. But to get things into their language, they have a large remote translation office there that just working constantly. And they quite a few. We met those people, and they toured us around and everything. A lot of them that are working, full time in just translating into all these in as many languages as they can. Okay, go ahead, please. Oh yeah, this is the Bethel family here, and this is the I can't remember. I think this is the little show they put on for us. Some of these friends have real talent. I mean, and around the world. I mean, not just there, but they really, some of these things that you'll see put on, they were really spectacular as far as I was concerned. Go ahead. Next one. Oh, this is a picture. This is one of the performers. He came up and was right in front of us. And if you notice, that what is it he has on the back of his head is a bird of paradise. And if you look right down the very bottom, you see his head and beak. And so I said, "Is that real?" He said, "Yeah, it's real." You know, so they use those in their native, performances, whatever. So it's dead. It's dead. He wouldn't be taken too kind to that. Yeah. So, but that was there was a number of them that had those headdresses like that. Okay, next. Now there's Elaine listening to Jesus. That was at Bethel at Papua New Guinea. They had set this display up just for the friends as they come in. So how neat is that? They did. Some of the brothers painted that just for this, for the delegates to come through and see it. Okay, next, please. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, I thought there was some missing, yeah.
Therefore, I want to let our fellow sing.
Friends, we've now safely arrived back at our destination, Port Moresby. It's certainly been a great pleasure to have you join us this evening. And we look forward to seeing you again throughout the duration of your stay here in Port Moresby.
On behalf of our PNG friends,
We say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you and good night.
The sisters during the program would announce things in 3 different languages for everybody.
This is back in Bethel. Okay. There's a lane that's with her war paint on.
And that underneath there, of course, says "Be courageous."
Yep. This was just inside Bethel. I mean, beautiful, as all Bethels are. And you see the tropical plants and so forth. And matter of fact, where that sister's going in right there, she was a very elderly sister that was a delegate. She had a lot of health problems too, but she made it. But she's going into the Kingdom Hall there. That's the Bethel, the door to the Kingdom Hall.
So welcome from the Bethel family. We're really happy, really excited to have you here. Brothers who have travelled, to be able to tour with you, get to meet the family, the international family. We can just see great benefits in just strengthening each other with opportunities like that. So thank you very much for coming. This is Brother George. Brother George works here in the service department. Great to be able to work with Brother George and his wife Bridget. She's been here for over 20 years too in the Bethel family. Sister Esther at the back, she's one of our special pioneers, come regular pioneers, and she's volunteering here this week to help. She's in the Jawaka area, and we've just got approval from the governing body to be able to, for the first time, just record the voice of the Jawaka speaker, translating directly.
But outside the, oh well, you might want to see that.
Can you see that, what it says there? Yeah.
I was just going to say, outside the fences of the Bethel, though, you saw how beautiful and manicured it is, but it looked like the ghetto right outside the fence.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Actually, I've got some pictures later of that.
There we go. Look.
The whale got her. This was a picture of I took a picture of a picture, so that was just a congregation somewhere out. I don't even know where that was inside the Bethel. Look how many he's done already. can see Assembly Hall. And they were welcoming us there. Everywhere we went, it was like that. Everywhere.
And we were not bothered by any bugs at all.
No,
Mosquitoes
I
can
never
be
saw a
really
mosquito.
bad, but they weren't there.
And they warned us ahead, about
Bring your bug spray.
bring bug spray because malaria is a problem there. I never saw a mosquito, not even one. Now, these are the guards. The motels have guards too, and these are two of the guards. And the guys look like Robin and Anthony Roundtree, don't they? I mean, I don't know. Is it just me or? That's what I said anyhow. And so, and we saw. And the funny thing was, all over everywhere we'd go, we'd see guys that had that same kind of facial structure that looked to me. And I'd tell Lane, I said, "There goes another Robin." Maybe I shouldn't say that, but the guys did. They really did look like to me the Roundtrees, Robin and Anthony particularly, which I told Anthony. It's a big deal to have us there.
L'année pour les photos. Moi, j'ai pas de fenêtre là. Mais non, tu prends des vidéos.
It was a rugby stadium. Rugby is their big deal over there. It's like.
Hey, the market's up here, Al.
We were. I mean, they it was amazing how we were interested in them, but we get off.
See you later. Bye, everyone. Bye. Look at you behind. Look at you tomorrow. Bye.
While he's getting the next picture, while we were there, Brother Jackson released the Bible in their language, the Bible like we have, but they were moved, and every time I'd go by, especially a kid, and he had one, I'd reach and grab it, and they wouldn't let it go. This was a sister. Her name is, Herawati Newhart. And she was born in Indonesia and raised in Indonesia. But she and her husband, I think he was, I don't know, Swedish or something, her husband was. And they were assigned to Papua New Guinea, and they were there many years. And I'll show you a picture of her later on, at the gathering. She went out in service with us on Monday after the convention, and I got a neat picture of her I want to show you. But she's got a life story in the magazine too, in the Awake magazine of 2011. Really interesting to read that. Now there's Elaine. You can see she's got her married dress on and trying to fit in. There's a couple. Those two sisters there were from France, and they sat right in front of us. We talked to them a little bit, chatted with them a little bit, and then those two brothers. Now they went all out. You can see they got dresses on. But that is the customary for some area just that's in the the Papua New Guinea area. I mean, it's an island off of Papua New Guinea that's their typical dress. So both of them went all out.
Like they're from Fuji?
Somewhere, I don't remember. So I guess we're going back to a video.
But first of all, we thank Jehovah God for allowing us to have this beautiful convention. And we thank the teaching committee of the governing body for preparing not only the beautiful program, but all those videos. And we're grateful that the governing body allowed us to have a special convention here in Papua New Guinea. I remember when the decision was made, some brothers were a little worried. They said, will the brothers in Papua New Guinea be able to host such a big convention? Well, the answer is yes, they can.
Yes, if I can.
With Jehovah's help.
So this was very interesting. The same brother was a translator every time for Brother Jackson. Now, during the convention, you had to listen to a radio to hear it in the other languages. They had it. They presented it in Talk Peace, and was the language they did from the platform. But to hear it in English, we had to have a little radio and listen, and there was an English translation. Now, sometimes that translation was rough, though, and you could just tell the brother was missing stuff, and sometimes some of them would even say, oh, no, or, so you could just hear it was rough. I mean, but you can imagine trying to do that. And this brother is talking in that language, and he's just carrying on, you know. And so they're trying to train. I don't even know how anybody can do that, but they did it, and did it. Most of them did a real good job. But it was different brother every talk that did the translating into English. Now, this brother was every time with Brother Jackson, and Brother Jackson was talking about the importance of rugby, and he used a lot of things that applied to their local culture and so forth there, and so he was talking about the importance of rugby to the Papua New Guineans, and he mentioned how the year before, Papua New Guinea had destroyed the United States in rugby, which I didn't even know the United States had a rugby team. But he said it was like 64-0 or something like that. I don't remember the score, but it was some kind of ridiculous score like that. And so then he said, so, you know, but we don't want to get caught up with that, you know, because I guess it's nationalistic and so forth. It's my country's better than your country. And so he said, so what many people say is, how was that? He said, my rugby team is better than like United States rugby team or something like that. I wish I could remember it. I got it written down somewhere. I forgot exactly how it went. But then when the brother translated it, he didn't say my rugby team. He says Papua New Guinea's rugby team is better. And so Brother Jackson looked at him. He said, "True translation." So anyhow, it was funny. And he did a lot of funny things. He told some stories that were just unbelievable. About there was one he told about a brother that had learned the truth, and he had just had come into the truth, and he was out doing street witnessing with another brother. And so this man said came along, and he saw the Awake magazine. He says, "I don't need that garbage. I'm already awake," and stuff like that. Just saying things to this new brother. And so the brother told him, he says, "I'm going to kill you." And the part of it was he had been like a jiu-jitsu fighter and a boxer and all these things before, so he could have. And so he took off running after this man. The man ran from him, and the brother was running behind him trying to catch this new brother. And so he finally the other guy got away, and so the brother caught up to him. He says, "No, brother, you can't do that." He says, "It'd give such a bad name to Jehovah." And so he said, "Oh no." He says, "No." He said it wouldn't give a bad name to Jehovah. He said, "What do you mean?" He says, "They'd say that's a Jehovah's Witness that did that." He says, "Oh no." He says, "I'd tell him I was Pentecostal." So and he told a number of funny things like that. It was really, really hilarious. Okay, next picture, please, Jimmy. couple of hours. Just this kind of stuff just going on and on and on. You'll see more.
So we were all just singing and waving. That was on Monday, going out headed to field service, and that's the Pacific Ocean. That we went up probably 30 or 40 miles away from the city out to this village to do our witnessing work. Next one, Jim. And there's where we stopped. That's a brother's house there. The buses that took us out there. There were 2 bus loads of us that went out in service that day. That was about 100 witnesses, and when they paired us up, they put 2 local friends with each witness, so you can see there was about 300 of us out in service. So next one, please. And that's the Kingdom Hall. Ray Congregation is what it's called, the Ray congregation. Yeah, the next one's a little video of the brother giving the.
There we go.
Thank you. I was by myself. Yeah. That's their library at their Kingdom Hall. This is the next one, I think, is the meeting for field service. So I just took a little bit of.
Okay, we, brothers and sisters from this congregation, I would like to welcome you all to our congregation, or I should say, welcome you to our village. hope you will enjoy your day here with us. Yes. Before we start up our day, we would like to do a very special assignment assigned to us by our loving Father Jehovah, which is the preaching work. The Tinggal language preaching in our language here is Aroro in Tuamotu. Aroro. And in Guinea pidgin is out in talk.
Dinanam. Inaga badabanam. Tabanam. Madinay tamu makakaw sa wala ba ni kanay tamu hegai. Unaw mo ina si tamu sa rupenan dua ya dikimuan. Ini na si na episode 5 si territory. Podua hiya
Namo. Kena ini umui tatau tata ada umui balalokau ini dia. Si umui ohela lokau mu hegeri. Hahini dan ada mana ini matauli.
So that was just a demonstration for field service, which I didn't understand a word, but they had told us in advance not to wear ties out in field service because that makes people look at you as though you think you're uppity or whatever. So none of the brothers, they don't wear ties in field service, and you can see the way we're dressed with the, just like kind of casual. Yeah.
They also said not to bring laptops and cell phones and things like that because you might be a target to get
Somebody
robbed.
will relieve you of them if you do. So the next few pictures are just some of the area where we were out in service. And one of the things about these houses, they don't have electricity or running water or anything. They're just up on stilts. You can see there's no infrastructure under it. One of the things they do is they bury their dead in the front yard. And that's one of the places that somebody's relative had been buried right there, right in front of the house. But you can see there's nothing there, no wiring, no pipes, nothing. They just they live very simply. These are different ones of the friends that I've had pictures of, in the ministry. Now, something I want to say about this, and I think there's a picture. We must have missed it, but this, right there. There's the picture. Beetle nut. That was in the stadium. Now, we don't have that in this country, but I remember in the past reading about it years ago in some of our literature about that was a problem, just like tobacco is here, and it is a real problem there. When we got there to the motel, the man that took our luggage, super nice guy too. He opened his mouth and smiled at me. All his teeth were black, and that was before I even saw this. I knew that was what that was because I remember, that's what it turns your teeth black, and they actually say they'll rot out pretty quick too. So he was a nice guy, and I had not yet gotten any Papua New Guinea money, but I wanted to give him a tip because he insisted on taking the bags to my room for me. I was just going to take them myself. And he insisted, so they went up. I told him, I'm sorry. I said, I don't have any of your money. I said, will you take American money? He said, oh, yes. So I gave him a tip in American money. Because you can change it easily. It's not hard. Now, this is a lady that I taught the little boys naked. And all the little children about that age run around naked. That's in the village is where that is. And she's one of the ones, and she spoke English. And so we talked to her. Really nice. And then the next one is a man. I took this call, and this man, and I know you can't. There's a little naked kid behind, see, too. But this man came down these steps. See, they don't have steps; they have almost like ladders. And he came down, sat on the lower level, and when he came down, he's got on gray shorts. Those shorts had a University of Alabama insignia and their mascot on his short leg. And I said, do you know what that is? Because I'll tell you a story about him in just a minute, but he spoke English. He said, I have no idea what it is. I said, that is a university in the United States. They're very powerful in football. And, so anyhow, he had no clue what his shorts were. And I guess he probably got it. There's probably just some clothes that had been donated or something. But I gave him I really had a good conversation with him. We went back and forth, and and I ended up talking some about religion, about how religion is just, misleading people and so forth. And so in the middle of my conversation, he said something to the young man. There was a brother with me in their language. I had no clue what he was saying. And so I just kept on talking. We had he was really nice, super nice man. So as we walked off, the brother with me, he says, "You know what he said to me?" I said, "I have no idea." He said that he was the head preacher at the local church. So anyhow, that was just a neat experience. Next one, please. Now this was the guy that was with me. I tell you, this guy, if I could have brought him home with me, I would. I loved him. He was just the neatest young man. I think he said he was 21 years old. He was more fluent in English than I am. And I asked him, I said, "How did you learn? How's your English so good?" He says, "I watch television." But he really spoke fluent English, perfect English. There were just a couple of kids there that were after field service was over. Now we walked a long ways, probably about a mile out in field service. We left the Kingdom Hall walk and we walked across this area that was like normally flooded, but it was dry. So we walked across this place. I fell down, got mud all over me, and that young brother, got some broom straw and wiped me off because it was kind of behind me where I couldn't get to it too good. But anyhow. So after field service is over, though, we're headed across. They had a gathering plan for us after field service. Those were just two little kids. Those were not witness kids. They were just in the boat. They're fishing, I guess. So I took a picture of them. Next picture, please. Oh, okay. This is an overhead shot. This is from Google Earth. And if you'll notice, I got the Kingdom Hall. That's where the Kingdom Hall is. So then we walked across that barren area there to the road, and then we worked down that road to the end. And then if you notice that, I can't see what mangrove structure. That's a bridge. That's a footbridge going across the inlet there. That inlet is right off the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean is just a little bit out of the picture there, but we had to walk across that. And then right at the end of it, to the right of it, there was two witnesses have homes right there on that inlet, and they had built this structure. And I'll show you some pictures of it in a minute. They built this structure behind their house just for this day, for the delegates that were there out in field service. It had just been built. They had just finished it. When you see it, it's going to blow you away. So go to the next one, Jimmy. That's the Kingdom Hall there. Nicest building in the area. That's the footbridge. You can see one of the brothers' houses over there on the right side. Next one. Okay, next one's video. That's fine. So this, again, they put on just a great time for us there. They fed us, and but this structure is what I don't know what they had them wrapped with, really, to tell you the truth, but this guy in front, he's got some light in it too. Sister to the right, but dancing, they were dancing to the guy in the right, so he started. And she had to climb up that ladder to get to it, you know. But she was used to that. So she had served there for years. That was just some of the local people there, still at the same get-together. I just thought the kids were so cute. I don't know why that's in there again, but that's the same sister that I was talking about earlier. Oh,
there she is with her tablet.
Yeah, see her there with the tablet. And she's up. You can see she went up that ladder. But she was on the other ladder too earlier. But she is I think about 67 years old. Look, she doesn't look it, but she's got some age on her. Okay. Oh, there she is. See, there's the other one where she's up there. I mean, she had no fear. Okay. Yeah, that's inside the little thing they built there. And there's the coconut. See, they didn't hull that one. Some of them they did hull though, and they'd hand them to us. And that's the looking across back at some of the other houses. That's across the opposite side from where we were at. There's what I had for lunch. I can't tell you what it is, but it was good. I mean, I ate it, and I survived pretty well. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so there's one other thing I wanted to share with you that was coming to my mind earlier, and that was an experience that Brother Jackson told. Like I say, he told a lot, and he used things that had to do with their culture because, see, he served many years in an island not far from there. So he's very familiar with that part of the world. And of course, he's from Australia, and the northern part of Australia is where he's from. So he knows that part of the world, and he used some illustrations and things that the friends understood better than Elaine and I did. But one of the ones he told was about there was this man that was in Parliament in Tuvalu. That's where he served. And so this man was one of the Parliament members, and the British had dominance over that part of the world for a long time. And they had put in a lot of laws there about how they conducted themselves in Parliament, like they had to always wear suits. And this was back in the era when they had no air condition. And it was hot and humid there. And so he said this one particular man, this man in Parliament, he hated white skins. That's what he called them, white skins. He hated white people. And so It turned out, though, that Brother Jackson ended up studying with this man who hates white people. And so he eventually the man learned the truth and came into the truth. Well, a number of years later, the man was an elder in the congregation, and he was giving a talk in his congregation. And his brother, by this time, was prime minister. And so his brother goes by the Kingdom Hall and sees him in there giving a talk. Oh, yeah, the part of it I left out, which is so important, is this law they had about wearing suits and ties and all that. He decided he wasn't going by it, so he goes in shorts and no shoes and just like a T-shirt or something. You know, that's the way he goes. So because of him, the laws were changed about that. So anyhow, later on in life, his brother goes by the Kingdom Hall, sees him giving a talk in there. And so that evening, his brother calls him. He says, "You are a hypocrite." And the brother said, "Well, why do you say that?" He says, "Because you would not wear a shirt and tie into the Parliament." But he says, "I saw you in the Kingdom Hall wearing your shirt and tie." He said, "I'll do anything for Jehovah, but not for the white skins." So he said he still had a little ways to go at that time. So those were just some of the funny things. I mean, Brother Jackson, he's hilarious anyhow. So he told a number of funny things. So with that being said, y'all have anything you want to ask? Any questions?
Did you learn any of the language?
Yeah.
Did you learn any of the? It's not turned on. It's not on. Hit the button on the bottom, at the very bottom. It's right on the very bottom.
We could probably hear you anyhow though. Press a button and hold it. Okay. Okay, it's on. It's on. He blamed it on his little boy.
Now, I saw where he had "good morning" in their language on the board. Did y'all learn any like greetings or anything while you were there?
A few things, and what is it they say for Jehovah? They don't say.
Well, in their prayers, it's just strange to hear them saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, Ethan."
Lane, you got one in your pocket, but.
I forgot. I'm sorry. In their prayers, because there were so many prayers said during the convention, but it's just odd to hear them saying "Papa" for Jehovah when they're speaking in their prayer. It's "Papa this" and "Papa that." Yeah, that was just a little bit weird. Yeah. Now, one word I did learn for Babylon the Great, they call it "Big Fella Babylon." And then when it's time to sing, they always say "sing sing." I don't know why they say the word twice, but it's "sing sing."
Yeah, there were things that we picked up, and it was I'll tell you, I just have to tell you, it's the greatest theocratic experience I've ever had, and I guess that makes it the greatest experience period I've ever had. So,
even though he was talking about how tough the flight was, I mean, it was really hard on us, but I would do it again because it was worth it.
Yeah. Ethan, if you're gonna be a mic counter, son, you gotta pay attention.
Did they have a mandatory public school system like they have here, where the kids have to go to school at a certain age, or any requirements like that?
I can't, and I'm thinking, certainly in the city, I'm sure they probably do. Perhaps they have a school system, and they all were in uniforms. We did see that. So they do. I mean, I think they put emphasis on education, but I suspect out in the jungle areas, there's probably little rule of law there about that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I would think, but I don't really know. I can't answer that question. So, Sierra?
Okay, 2 questions. How often did you go barefoot?
In the motel room only.
Yeah. only in the room.
Yeah.
And then at the actual convention, you said that they released the Bible in their language. Did any delegates get it, or you just got to see the natives got it?
No, they announced ahead of time when they released it that it was only for the local people. So we weren't allowed to get one, and that was fine. I mean, that made sense because I couldn't have read it anyhow. I was tickled to be there at that release because, these friends, they don't have a lot. And so to get something like that, and you know, I'll tell you something else too, to go along with that. I think about the fact that the governing body allowed a special convention to be there, how that had to lift the spirits of those people to have such a thing there. And you know, I don't know if you caught it or not, but Brother Jackson said apparently some of the governing body initially had questions about whether this could be pulled off. But pull it off they did. And I mean, it was just, everything was perfect. I mean, I didn't see one flaw in anything. Ethan?
Oh, you said that their winters are 70 in the night and 80 in the and 80 in the day.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's their winters, how hot would their summers be?
You know, some of those tropical areas are still pretty moderate even in the summer. So, but I don't know that. You know, you can Google it and find out though. I don't know. But I know when we were there, it was. I'll tell you this: they had a room, kind of up on like the third level of the stadium that was, air conditioned. And I don't think the air worked the whole time because we were in there. We went in there the first 2 days. Actually, we went in there the first day by mistake, and then we were there, so we just stayed. And then I liked it, so we went back the second day. But then we decided on the third day, we wanted to get a feel for what it's like out in the open stadium. So we did. We sat there the third day, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. Because I was a little worried that even when it's 85, that's pretty hot to be dressed up. Which we just had a shirt and tie on, no coat. But it was great because there's a little breeze, and we were not uncomfortable at all. So it was great. Great time to go. I recommend going in the winter if you're going to Papua New Guinea or Australia. We had a nice time there too. We got to see a lot of things, kangaroos and such as that. Things that
the weather was different in Australia. It was cold.
Yeah, it was cold. It was cold in Australia. It was down like 40 degrees one night because we were down. Sydney is in the southern part of Australia, so you're moving further away from the equator. So it was pretty cool. And then there's I think it was about a 2 or 3 hour flight from Sydney up to Brisbane, where we had to go from Sydney to Brisbane and then to Papua New Guinea. So that's the way we went when we finally got to go on up to Papua New Guinea. So, but those were not bad flights there. You're just talking about a couple hours for one, and about 3, I think, for the one to Papua New Guinea. So yeah, we had a real good time. There was somebody in the first time we did this asked a question about insects, which I think I already covered that. But we had been warned about that, but we had no problem whatsoever. The motel was just a first-class motel. It was clean. It was just, they took care of our room every day. I mean, and they fed us every evening. The meals were included, right, in the room. Isn't that right? No, breakfast. That's right. Breakfast was included. They had a great breakfast every morning. Good stuff. Some things I hadn't eaten before.
Always a lot of good fruit.
Yeah, fruits. And they had for other meals they had a lot of chicken, and they had other things too. The chicken though, the pieces of the chicken did not look like our pieces of chicken. They were shaped different. I mean, I'm a chicken kind of guy, so I know my chicken. Jimmy. Fast foods. There was a DFC there. It stood for delicious fried chicken, and it had the emblem kind of like KFC too. So they were kind of playing on KFC, but it was DFC. I didn't see, like in the mall, they had places you could eat, and they all looked fine to me.
But it wasn't McDonald's or Burger King or any of our
we didn't see
local things.
None of those things.
No grocery stores that we recognized or banks or any of that.
No.
Now Australia was different. We were right next door to McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, Australia has everything we have, so they're just like us. Sister Hendricks?
You were talking about the chicken. Could you see the chicken leg, the shape of the chicken legs, or anything like that?
The piece I really was talking about is more like the thigh with the back on it, part of the back on it. You know how they do cut a chicken, like they cut the thigh out, and that back piece just didn't look right. It didn't look like what I'm used to, and I mean, like I say, I know my chickens though. All right, Sister Humes.
Earlier, you mentioned about the dress code. A lot of times in certain tribal areas, and you mentioned being out in service, did you all run into any place that the dress code was different? And if so, was it hard for brothers to deal with this?
I didn't, and I only went out in service that one day. So we were only in that one location, and we just went like they instructed us. I had on, you saw a picture of me. I had on this blue print shirt, blue and white print shirt. So just real, and it felt good not having that tie on. I'd have to say.
I mean, when you ran into the householder and not being properly dressed, like.
Well, the worst one I saw was that one you saw in the picture. So,
Okay.
So now, but again, this was not all that far out of the city, because if you get out in the jungles and everything, there are places that they just don't wear clothes hardly.
Okay.
But they wouldn't have took us there
Yeah,
because we'd be a target for
Right. Yeah.
violence.
Okay.
Yeah. Sister Black over here.
And so you said in the winter they get dark early. So was there a curfew, a certain time they said you must be in your hotel? Because I know the activities going on. Did they go late into the night?
They warned us to not go anywhere unless we were in a group. Now, there was no curfew, and I know some of the friends went out together in the evenings and things. So we really didn't do much at all except one night. To go into the city by ourselves. One night we got a taxi, and we went actually they took us in a little a van, and then there was a group of us, but when we came back it was just a lane line and a taxi. And I was kind of nervous about that, to be honest, because you don't know, but the taxi driver was super nice. We witnessed to him, invited him to the convention. He knew all about it, so they're well aware. They were well aware of the witnesses being there.
And we kept our badges on at all times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Jimmy? No, that's one thing I've never done.
Only in the motel. No, not really. No, he didn't. He didn't.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, I can't think of anything else to cover. But we just the bottom line, we had a great time. I encourage anybody that can reach out and be able to do that to give it a try, because you won't be disappointed. And I don't care where you go. There's been some things recently on the newsroom on jw.org. About the convention in Georgia, wasn't it? Is it Georgia? One of the conventions they had special conventions, and another one about one of the other conventions. I can't remember where that was, but you just read about it. They have the same kinds of experiences that we did. They kept them busy. They had things to do to see the local culture and so forth. Again, I wouldn't trade any of the other experiences for the one in Papua New Guinea, though, because that was something that was just. It was eye-opening, It's I could go to Canada or to some of the European countries and probably enjoy myself as well, but you're seeing the same things we have here, and that's really what I wasn't interested in. I know what we got here, so. All right, so thank you for everybody for your participation, and we recorded this, hopefully.